Simply Financial with Christopher Calandra, Certified Financial Planner, is an innovative, comprehensive, informative, and cutting-edge podcast that discusses financial topics ranging from personal finance, economics, politics, and personal growth. Simply Financial will cover intriguing and thought-provoking questions so that the listener can simply increase their financial IQ.
Welcome to episode number 50 of season number 3 of the Simply Financial podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Calandra. Today, my guest is Alina Trigub. She is the founder of SAMO Financial, and she's involved in commercial real estate. She's a regular speaker on the subject. And one of the descriptions I saw about Alina in my preparation for today's discussion is how much she loves helping people. She gets a tremendous amount of satisfaction when her investors find investments that suit their goals and plans. So, Alina, thank you so much for joining me today.
Chris, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. I'm really excited.
I know we had had a full start a while ago, and this was a reschedule, so this has been a little bit in the making. So I'm glad we finally connected and are together this morning. Maybe we could start, Alina, for my listeners, and you could tell us a little bit of your background to start with.
Absolutely, Chris. So hi, everyone. My name is Alina Trigub. I started my professional career by receiving an accounting degree from City University of New York. And I worked as a tax accountant for a little while, but never really enjoyed that field. So I decided to switch to the information technology field, where I'm still working. I worked in different roles and, had different capacities, but mainly most of my roles evolved around being the liaison between business and technology and kind of help to connect the two worlds. And while doing that, I was always concerned about, our family paying higher taxes, being in a higher tax bracket. So finding a way to lower taxes has been on my mind for a while. And given my tax and accounting background, I've always thought about that. And same goes for real estate. I've thought about real estate, but didn't really take any significant action until about 6 or 7 years ago, when I finally decided to take action and started researching as to what kind of real estate investing we can do. And after unsuccessfully searching locally for property where the numbers would make sense, I decided to look out of state. And while doing my out-of-state research, I came across the world of syndications. And for those that may not be familiar with what syndication is, it's simply when a group of people joins the forces and buys a large real estate together. The money are pulled together, and a partnership is formed where there are people that are GPs, general partners, that do all the work of finding, inspecting, negotiating the property, and then managing it. And the rest of the people are limited partners, LPs, or passive investors, as they also called, that invest their funds into this investment and let the general partners do all the work. So I decided to give it a try, and after doing the research, I invested as a limited partner in a syndication. And after the first one, I did the second one and the third one, and the process kind of flowed in after that. And after realizing the tremendous benefits of this passive investing, and realizing that it's not very common, not a lot of people are familiar with this concept, I decided to bring this to market and share it with other folks, and I formed my own company with, again, the sole purpose of spreading the word and educating other folks and helping other people that may also not have the capacity or desire to be active landlords and get the phone calls in the middle of the night about problems with the property, but simply having a way of investing in real estate and becoming partial property owners through these syndications give them the ability to do so by partnering up with us, and so receiving passive income, also saving on taxes, and the third, also very important component to me at least, is the social impact, because the strategy that we're implementing when we're buying properties is typically a value-add strategy, which essentially entails that we buy a property and we renovate it, whether it's apartment complex or maybe it's a mobile home park community. So we try to change it for the better to attract the right kind of tenants, so the tenants would stay with us longer because we make the community attractive to them, and that we make it a place where people want to stay. And that, to me, is a huge positive impact. By I'm helping potential tenants on one end where they are coming into community where they want to live for a long time, and helping passive investors on the other end where they're making money on this and doing it completely passively, just as they planned. So to me, that's also another tremendous benefit that is beneficial in both ends. And that's what SAMO Financial is about.
So how long ago did you found SAMO?
It's been almost 2 years since I found SAMO Financial.
Beautiful. Now let me ask you this, Alina. Obviously, people could individually buy properties, multifamilies, commercial, single family. They could rehab. There's a number of ways you can do it. And then also you could go into the publicly traded marketplace. Basically, go to the stock market, and there are lots of publicly traded real estate investment trusts where you're buying into a portfolio of real estate. And so those are two common ways that people invest in real estate. Is it fair to say, Alina, that the syndicate is a little like the publicly traded REIT companies, just on a smaller scale where it's part of a syndicate? Are they kind of similar in that way?
They're similar in terms of the business strategy, where properties are bought and repositioned. They're different from a tax perspective, because the income produced by REITs is ordinary income, and the income produced through syndications, private placements, is for the most part passive gains and losses, where one can be netted against the other. And with gains can go to as high as 20%, where ordinary income could be treated for some folks at as high as what's the highest, 39% these days.
Right. Okay.
So the main benefit.
So with the syndicate, what you help your clients do is identify suitable syndicates that they may want to invest in. Is that right?
Sure. So whatever projects I'm working on, I share it with my clients, and I share it based on their interests that they've expressed to me, and it's up to them whether they want to invest with us or not. But these are the projects that have been vetted by the sponsors and then fully vetted by me as a second stage, and now it's up to the investors whether they want to partner up and join us on these projects.
Because it seems to me the syndicate process is attractive in many ways, although a key element of that is identifying good syndicate sponsors, because those partners, the general partner or the person running the sponsor, I guess is a better way to say it. I mean, they need to be good at their job because they're the ones identifying the properties, making the purchase decisions, deciding on the repositioning plan, and ultimately deciding on selling the property. So how do you screen for good sponsors?
Sure, Chris, and that's definitely step number one, screening for sponsors. The next steps would be evaluating the market the sponsors are in, and then evaluating the offering itself. But going back to screening the sponsors, it's more or less like a dating process. You can do it overnight. It takes time to establish relationship and build them. we go through the extensive questionnaire that we've developed over the time, and then obviously evaluating the prior projects that the sponsors worked on, looking at their underwriting, verifying their strategy, verifying the plans that they have for a particular offering that they're presenting, and then also getting to know them as a person, because aside from being a business partners, if you're planning to work with someone for a very long time, in my mind, it's absolutely essential to make sure that you and your potential business sponsor are getting along well. So that personal component is absolutely critical, and I always refer people back to Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. If it's not someone that you're getting along with, it's not someone with whom your strategy is aligned, and for whatever reason, it doesn't mean that one is wrong, one is right. It's just, you and the other partner may not be the right type of people that would get along well. Then, it's time to move on and find someone else, because having that full understanding is very, very critical on the personal and on the business level. And so we go through that process of verifying and validating partners, which takes sometimes several months. Sometimes it could take up to a year to do.
Very good. And let me ask you this. You mentioned earlier on that where you are based, you're typically not acquiring real estate and not involved in syndicates in your area. You're in the New York City metro area, right?
Correct. We're in New Jersey, very close to New York. The numbers simply don't make sense here. Having cap rates at 3 to 4% is not attractive. There's no way we can have our investors make income in this area. That's why we try to go into the markets that can offer cash flow for our investors, because that's the main objective here.
Can you tell us some areas that have been attractive for you guys recently? If it's not New York metro area, where has there been some attractive deals where you can get better returns and superior cash flow?
Sure. It depends on the asset class, but if we take apartment complexes, some of the most attractive markets for us where we invested have been Dallas-Fort Worth area or Houston area. There's tremendous growth. The infrastructure is there. The jobs are coming in. People are going into that area. Texas is one of the personal income tax-free states, so it's definitely attractive. Cost of living is very affordable, and the climate is relatively warm, so people are attracted to that. And then the jobs. Large companies that just keep going to their to Texas area, and that is attractive to us as well. And so these are some of the areas where we bought properties.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's switch gears a little bit, Alina. And so when you were growing up, did you grow up in a house that was poor? Was it lower middle class, upper middle class? Did you grow up in an affluent household? What kind of household did you grow up in?
I would say it was probably, lower to middle class household, but it wasn't here. I grew up in a former Soviet Union, so it was a completely different environment.
Completely different environment. I imagine that's very, very true. So when did you come to the United States?
I came here as a young adult, and I went for my undergraduate degree directly. So that's where I started my career as a student at Baruch.
Okay, Baruch is is that a SUNY school in New York?
Yep,
City of New York
it is.
School? Okay.
Yep. Baruch was well known for its accounting graduates. That was attractive to me since I decided to major in accounting, so I applied for Baruch and was accepted, and was a good choice.